You know, the number one mistake in selling, it's delaying the hard questions. We spend all this time, right, crafting the perfect pitch, highlighting every last benefit, and polishing every feature until it shines. But here's the thing. All that work can be completely undone because we're tiptoeing around the one thing the customer's actually thinking about, their biggest fear. And that brings us to the central, and yeah, I'll admit, kind of radical question we're exploring here. What if, instead of avoiding that huge elephant in the room, you put a spotlight right on it from the very first second? I know, it feels completely counterintuitive, doesn't it? It pretty much flies in the face of everything we've ever been taught about persuasion. But just stick with me because the results of this approach, well, they are nothing short of a breakthrough. And that right there is the great paradox at the heart of modern copywriting. How on earth can starting a conversation by openly admitting a flaw, a high price, a potential complication, actually speed up a sale? It feels like it should be sales suicide. To really get how this incredible reversal works, we have to completely reframe how we think about trust and skepticism in this digital age. So over the next few minutes, we're going to deconstruct this entire system. We'll start by unpacking the paradox of skepticism to see exactly why the old ways are failing. Then we'll dive into the cynicism crisis to really get the modern problem this system was built to solve. From there, we'll pop the hood on the three-step trust engine that powers the whole thing. We'll explore the fascinating psychology of honesty that makes it all click, show you how to master the refutation, and finally, we'll land on the single most powerful takeaway, the most honest sentence. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the paradox of skepticism. To truly get why this objection-first method is such a game changer, we first have to understand why the traditional approach is just, well, it's fundamentally broken, even if you can't see it. It's all built on a really flawed assumption about your customer's mindset. So here it is, the critical truth that changes everything. Your customer never, ever shows up as a blank slate. They come to your website, your sales page, your email, with their skepticism already preloaded. And look, it's not their fault. It's a survival mechanism in a world that's just saturated with marketing claims. Ignoring this built-in skepticism, that's the big mistake so many businesses make. That doubt doesn't just go away because you don't mention it. Nope, it just sits there, silently poisoning the well, waiting for any excuse to say no. And as you can see here, this core truth creates two totally different paths. Over on the left, you've got traditional copywriting, which basically picks a fight with that skepticism. It puts off the hard questions about price or complexity, just hoping its value prop is strong enough to steamroll the customer's doubt. This creates a subtle confrontation, a battle between your pitch and their own inner voice. But on the right, you see how Objection First flips the script completely. By leading with the hard question, you turn that confrontation into a conversation. You're not fighting their skepticism, you're acknowledging it, you're validating it, and in doing so, you instantly disarm it. So the crucial point here is that the old playbook isn't just outdated, it's obsolete. The whole game has changed, and our tools have to change with it. This brings us to section 2, because this system wasn't just invented in a vacuum. It was forged in the fire of a very modern problem, the cynicism crisis. The problem is what we can call a crisis of high digital cynicism. Just think about it for a second. How many ads, pop-ups, sponsored posts, and sales pitches does the average person get hit with in a single day? We have been relentlessly trained to distrust, to assume there's always a catch, to reflexively believe that most things are just too good to be true. In this world, credibility isn't just a nice to have, it's the only currency that actually matters. And you have to establish it in seconds or you've lost before you've even started. Now, the framework for solving this crisis comes from this fascinating field of social psychology. It's called Inoculation Theory. The core idea is brilliant and it works just like a medical vaccine. You expose someone to a weakened version of a counterargument, in our case, their own biggest objection, and then you immediately hit them with a strong refutation. So what happens? It's incredible. Their belief in your position gets stronger, and they become inoculated against their own future doubts on that specific point. By tackling their biggest fear first, you're not just handling a problem, you're building a powerful psychological defense against the very skepticism that would normally kill the sale. Okay, now that we get the psychological principle, let's look at how it actually works in practice. This brings us to section 3, the three-step trust engine. Because this isn't just some vague concept of being honest. It's a precise 3-part psychological sequence designed to basically manufacture trust on the spot. And here they are, the 3 essential gears of the trust engine. First, you acknowledge. Second, you refute. And third, you pivot.
each step is absolutely critical, and the sequence can't be changed. It starts with empathy, moves lightning fast to undeniable proof, and then ends with a powerful transition built on a brand new foundation of trust. If you nail this sequence, the entire dynamic of the sale changes in your favor.
Step 1 is the empathy hook. This is where you just say the customer's biggest fear out loud. You say the exact thing they're already thinking. Yes, this is our most expensive option. Or, look, I know this seems incredibly complicated to set up at first. That single act of validation is just profoundly disarming. It instantly tells them that you get it, that you understand their perspective, and you're not trying to hide anything. In that moment, their internal sales resistance just starts to melt away, because you've just joined them on their side of the table. Step 2, the inoculation, has to happen immediately. You can't acknowledge the objection and then pause or move on. You have to follow it up right away with verifiable, undeniable proof that completely neutralizes it. This is not the time for vague promises. This is where you bring out your ironclad, no questions asked money-back guarantee, or a simple chart showing the massive long-term savings, or a wall of glowing customer testimonials. The refutation has to be so powerful that it just destroys their internal counter-argument before it can even really form. And only now, once you've named and neutralized their biggest risk, can you pull off step 3, the pivot. This is what we call the trust anchor. Because you've handled their biggest concern with radical honesty and solid proof, every single thing you say next is seen through a brand new lens of credibility. The rest of your pitch becomes dramatically more believable. You've earned their full attention, and more importantly, you've earned their trust. That creates a powerful anchor that holds them as you finally explain the real value. So, we've seen the engine. Now in section 4, let's look under the hood at the fascinating human psychology at play here. Why is this 3-step sequence so ridiculously powerful? Well, it's because it strategically resolves a really intense internal conflict that every single buyer is going through. See, before you address their fear, your customer is in a state psychologists call cognitive dissonance. It's a mental tug-of-war. One part of their brain is interested in your solution, but another part is screaming this costs way too much or this is going to be a total nightmare to implement. They can't fully listen to your pitch because they're completely distracted by this internal fight. By acknowledging and refuting that fear, you achieve what's called cognitive resolution. You resolve the conflict for them, which frees up their mental energy to actually hear and engage with your message. Their sales resistance plummets because the main source of that resistance has just been vaporized. This also triggers another powerful psychological lever: source credibility. In any conversation, we're constantly, subconsciously, judging how trustworthy the source is. By leading with what could be seen as your biggest weakness, the high price, the complexity, you send an incredibly powerful signal of honesty. It's a paradox, right? Admitting a flaw makes you a far more credible and expert source. In our cynical world, this is the absolute fastest way to establish the authority you need to make a sale. Okay, so we have covered all the theory. Now for section 5, let's translate this into a practical framework that you can actually master. Because it's not enough to just understand the psychology, you have to know how to apply it with precision. Your first job is to become a detective and find the unspoken killer. You have to ruthlessly identify the single most damaging objection that's holding your customers back. Is it the price? Is it how complicated it seems? The time commitment? Or is it just that nagging feeling of this just sounds too good to be true? Talk to your sales team, survey your past customers, dive into your analytics. Do whatever it takes to find that ultimate obstacle. You have to be absolutely sure what the biggest point of friction is before you can even think about addressing it. Once you've identified that obstacle and you've acknowledged it in your opening line, your refutation can't be weak or half-hearted. It has to be irrefutable proof. This is where an ironclad, no questions asked guarantee becomes your single greatest sales tool. It's where a wall of 5-star reviews and detailed case studies does all the heavy lifting for you. Or it's where you present hard, cold data, performance metrics, savings charts, efficiency gains that makes the original objection logically impossible to hold on to. Your proof has to be so overwhelming that it just completely demolishes the objection. So, we've explored the problem of digital cynicism, we've uncovered the psychological mechanism of inoculation, and we've laid out the practical framework for how to apply it. Now, let's bring it all home with our final section and the single most essential takeaway, the core insight that powers this entire system. If you remember just one thing from all of this, make it this. Your customer is not sitting there waiting for your pitch. They're sitting there with their guard up and their skepticism preloaded, waiting for you to give them a reason, any reason, to let that guard down. They're waiting for permission to trust you. The quickest path to a sale isn't a slicker pitch. It's a powerful demonstration of strategic honesty. You are giving them that permission the second you address their biggest fear head-on.
And ultimately, that is what this entire system is all about. It's time to stop thinking about pushing people through a funnel and start thinking about pulling them toward value. That magnetic pull doesn't come from hype or slick promises. It comes from hard-won credibility. It comes from genuine empathy. It's the cold logic of social psychology applied to the profound human need for transparency. And for you, it all begins by finding and having the courage to deliver the most honest sentence you can possibly write.